Today's episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast is brought to you by Baylor Scott & White Sports Performance Center, athletes made here. The Sports Performance Center was developed with one goal in mind: to maximize human performance through movement and recovery. Their team of expert performance sports coaches and trainers will guide you to achieve your performance goals. That's the Baylor Scott & White Sports Performance Center, located at the Star in Frisco. This episode is also brought to you by Allen Dental Studio. Located off Bethany Drive in Allen, their office was designed with you, the patient, in mind, which means an excellent and enjoyable experience. From cosmetics to implants, you deserve a perfect smile, and Allen Dental Studio can make that happen. Also, don't want to leave out another longtime friend of the podcast, Texan Senior Residential Care Homes. With locations in Carrollton and Dallas, Texan Senior Residential Care Homes offers an affordable, high-quality alternative to senior living. Call now at 469-400-7650. That's Texan, spelled T-E-X-S-E-N, Texan Senior Residential Care Homes. Welcome to another episode of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast. My name is Matt Welch, being joined by Taylor Raglin and Kendrick Johnson. Gentlemen, week one of high school football season is in the books, and it is time to look ahead to week two. And as per usual, that means focusing on our reader-voted game of the week. Big thank you to everybody who went to the website, starlocalmedia.com, and voted. Among our five candidates this week, a very, very lively turnout. Some very, very passionate fan bases letting their voices be heard for one of those five games, especially out in McKinney, and that was I don't know if I'd have to go back and check to see what the highest voter turnout for a single game is on the picket line, because McKinney Boyd and Marcus, they very well may be the new standard for that mark. Yeah, just what a turnout for the Marauders and the Broncos, and that is sure enough our game of the week, despite a late charge by the folks out in either Mesquite or Highland Park. That game picked up 300 votes or whatever within the last 24 hours.
They made a late run.
But yes, nevertheless, a dominant showing by Red Nation, as they're known out at Boyd, and in anticipation for what I think should be a pretty fun competitive game. This game is Friday, 7 o'clock at McKinney ISD Stadium. Both teams coming off fairly contrasting performances from week one. We can start with Boyd, a team that you saw last week, Kendrick, open up the season in emphatic fashion under new head coach Joe McBride, a 45-7 victory over Naaman Forest. You've been covering this team since you set foot in this building here. What, in your first look at this team under Coach McBride, what was, I guess, the biggest difference compared to the teams that you had seen the last couple of years under Don Drake?
2 words: speed and talent on defense.
Okay. Those are important.
Yeah, the defense was way quicker for little things, like a guy get a pitch and he couldn't get the edge, or they keep him from going outside 2 or 3 times in a row. But eventually he's gonna get the outside and get that big run. They wouldn't have none of that on Friday, and it helps that you have 4 transfers that all start and all legit players. I keep forgetting the kid from Allen that transferred. I know you were familiar with Allen's roster.
Yeah, I don't know which one's at Boyd, though.
I looked it up, but they got transfers. Play Wyatt, and the defense coordinator, Steve Fex, his kids, Jake and Jimmy, have been resurgence, because Jake had a pick 6, 77-yard interception return, caught a screen pass and made 3 people miss, went 52. Jimmy had 10 tackles, 2 picks, and a fumble recovery. Talking about making a debut and making an impact. And overall, Boyd's defense got 6 turnovers, so it's going to be key to see a big question mark. Can they keep this going? If that was a mirage, and they're playing only Naaman Forest, who y'all said can't beat Plano West, let's see if this week will be a good challenge.
Yeah, 6 turnovers. You average 6 turnovers for a season. That's a heck of a bar. That game was a little wonky in a lot of areas, just combing through the box score.
They didn't get the ball for the first 6 minutes. They muffed the punt, got back on and got the ball back. So it was 5-something, and they had ran no offensive plays. Yeah. So that was for wonky. That puts it in perspective. They kind of look like the Oregon and not Oregon, but the Notre Dame Louisville game. You fumble.
I counted 22 total penalties in that game, including 16 from Naaman Forest. There were 9 total turnovers. You mentioned 6 by Naaman. Boyd itself committed 3, so definitely some signs of week 1 from both teams in that capacity. You would expect those numbers to drop quite a bit. One thing, just in combing through a couple highlights that I saw of Boyd, is just I like the kind of the creativity in the passing game, especially on a few of their scoring plays. Now, the Boyd passing games still did finish under 50% for the game, so that was a problem last year. So I mean, that's something that's got to be worked out. I mean, it's just tough to make headway in District 9-6A if you're right around the midpoint from a completion percentage standpoint. But I like some of the creativity that you saw with you mentioned that touchdown to Jake Fex, and it was a play where their quarterback Carter Whitefield, he rolls right, turns back, throws left to Fex on a screen pass, and he just does the rest. He hurdles a defender, he tightrope walks his way around a few more, and is able to somehow stay in bounds for was like a 52-yard touchdown or something like that. And then you saw another touchdown pass, this one from Jack Hagan to Kareem Coleman.
Baseball fame Jack Hagan.
Where you have Jack Hagan lining up as a wide receiver. They send him in motion, snap the ball, and then Whitefield throws a backwards pass to Hagan, who then chucks it downfield to Kareem Coleman. There wasn't a defender within
10 yards, legitimately. Like he weighed like he was catching a pop 5 baseball.
Oh yeah, it looked like 20 yards from the I was watching. It was just insane how that just completely caught the Naaman Forest defense napping. So yeah, just to see that kind of creativity was a nice, a nice little ingredient to the Boyd defense. Definitely going to keep the defense honest, knowing that I'm sure the playbook probably runs a little bit deeper than what they showed to as well.
And 2 things to add: the kid name is Archie Brock. Archie Brock was a key contributor, but Tyler Shaw's going to be a beast. He only had 9 carries. They're looking for him to get 1,500, 15 touchdowns. So they say miles on his body. They didn't really need him. So it's not going to be like that District 9-6A that he's going to get the ball 20, 25 times a game. So he kind of coached it. But he's definitely going to be a problem.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of now the question going forward is what to, because it's week 1. We never know what to make of week 1 performances, because we're seeing these teams for the first time, so we don't know what's sustainable, what's not, and that's kind of the question now with Boyd. On paper, it's a great debut, and now we get to see, I think, in the coming weeks leading into district, what it means, because the difficulty is going to theoretically ramp up quite a bit with a team like Marcus coming up this week, Louisville the following week. So yeah, it's just a question of whether or not this is the Boyd that we're going to be seeing now. I mean, hey, I'm high on them. I picked them to make the playoffs in our preview podcast just a couple weeks ago. I think they're going to be a very improved team. I also think Marcus is going to be pretty improved as well. And I got to see them while you were covering Boyd and Naaman Forest. I was out in Arlington covering Marcus's game against Bowie. One of several solid teams out of the Arlington ISD area. Marcus had a tougher time than Boyd did in its first game. They lost to Bowie 28-14 in a game that was kind of a grinder, kind of a slog at times. It started off, just bang, bang. Marcus comes out. They fumble on their first snap of the game. Bowie turns that into a quick scoring drive, and then Marcus goes right down the field, scores again, and then Marcus didn't score for over 33 minutes of game time.
Was it Bowie's defense or Marcus' offense?
It was Bowie's. I thought it was more Bowie's defense, and Marcus had some self-inflicted mistakes as well, so I guess a combination of both. I was really impressed with the Bowie defense, especially their defensive front, and the job that they did getting pressure on quarterback Garrett Nussmeyer. Marcus didn't help its cause with some drops. The receiving core looked, at least kind of relative to what I had heard going into the season, a little bit depleted. There were a couple names I didn't see out there that you're expecting some big contributions from, but they had a tough time catching some wide open passes. So that's something that obviously you got to correct. You wouldn't expect that stuff to kind of carry over. You're probably going to catch more wide open passes than you'll drop. But nevertheless, I still thought that Marcus did some good things, especially on defense. Bowie had 3 of their 4 touchdowns came. The first one came, almost as a direct result of that fumble to begin the game. So they had a really short field to work with. And then the other 2 from Bowie were on deep passes, completions of 75 yards, 81 yards to receiver Jimmy Valson. So really, Bowie only put together 1 sustained scoring drive against Marcus's defense. Like I said, I thought they did some good stuff up front. They had a sophomore. Let's see, I got his name written down. Bryson Barber. He was in the backfield quite a bit. Had a couple sacks to his name. Hunter Sanders, Ty Strauss. So there's definitely talent in that front seven for sure.
What about the back end, though?
That's the thing, and that's the question now. Like, I think,
suspected susceptible to the big play because Boyd seemed like they're going to have a big play offense this year.
Oh, yeah. No, I did I checked the numbers. Yeah, Boyd only completed 8 passes against Naaman, and 3 of them went for at least 50 yards. It is a team that was very reliant on the big play, at the very least in that game. And that's kind of the question because, like, we all know Kareem Coleman is one of the best deep threats in District 9 6A.
He can fly.
They had a tough time dealing with with the Bowie receiver Jimmy Valson, his speed, but it wasn't like they got beat on like go routes or whatnot. It was Valson found like a soft spot in the back end of their coverage. He catches the ball, makes a cut up field, breaks 1 or 2 tackles, and he's just gone. So it wasn't like, again, they were just running a fly route and he just burnt you, just beat the cornerback in a straight line dash. No, it was a coverage bust on Marcus plus some poor tackling and whatnot. So we'll see. But yeah, obviously you got to be very mindful of that because Kareem Coleman he's going to get targeted and you're going to get tested deep for sure.
He can fly. If you haven't seen him run, he can fly. He can hit you in the special teams. He's one of the best punt and kick returners in the area too.
One thing though that Marcus was able to fall back on, despite the fact that the passing game was definitely a bit below I think what the expectation is for them this season, given that Garrett Nussmeier is a Division I prospect. They have their go-to receiver has got several D1 offers, J. Michael Sturdivant. But the run game was working just fine for them, and that's what helped kind of keep them at least competitive until Bowie pulled away in the second half. And it was a big debut for Tyson Edwards, taking over for Justin Dinka. He got a heavy workload. 30 carries, I think, was
opposite Tyler Shaw.
Yeah. I mean, he had 30 carries, 147 yards. He led the team in receptions as well, so he was very prominently featured. Presumably going to still be the case on Friday against Boyd. And yeah, it makes it to see that kind of the battle of the stud running backs because it sounds like both of them have certainly some game-breaking potential.
I think who controls the clock with the ball control offense and which offense produces the best and doesn't self-inflict it, because Boyd probably could have put up a good 70 if they wouldn't have the penalties and the turnovers. So you definitely want to see whose offense is the real deal on Friday.
As far as things that I'm kind of looking at, we just mentioned Marcus got victimized by the big play last week, and Boyd's going to test them vertically a bit more than Bowie will, but it's still the team that's, and I like matchups like that you can take a discernible flaw that you showed in one game and you see a team the following week that can test you in almost the exact same capacity. That's going to be massive if they can cut down on that stuff. And Boyd's defense looked outstanding against Naaman Forest, but Marcus is exponentially more talented on offense than Naaman Forest is. I mean, there's numerous Division I prospects on that offense. So in the first real test for Boyd, I want to see how they hold up against a dynamic offense. If they show out and look the part, then I'm ready to believe that they might be they might be able to follow through on that potential. But I kind of need to see it first before.
The defense is legit to me. I'm pretty. That's the best defensive performance I've seen in the 3 years I've covered them. So I'm pretty legit. I'm sold on the defense. The offense is like, we're going to get this consistent production, or y'all going to be a ball control offense and play keep away, which you can't do with a Tyler Shaw.
For sure.
When he gets going, he hits you for 5, 6, 7 yards a pop, and he weighs 205. So people don't want to tackle that for 30 times, and they get 30 carries like the guy from Marcus. So this could be one of those fast games. Like, you blink, you mess up, that's it.
It'll be one of those questions with Boyd, though. Well, what happens when they get into 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 11 or whatnot? Are they able to still complete? When they have to pass the ball and it can't be for 50 yards and whatnot, are they still able to make the intermediate game work?
I know Winfield can take off too. He got little wheels. He's a sophomore, so you kind of don't know until he's in the situation.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is all very new for him.
So it'll be interesting to see how he matures. His maturity will go a long way into seeing how they do, not just this week, but for the whole season, because you went from nobody knew who you were last year to you're that guy.
Oh, yeah. So that's right. And like I said, last year, just completing half your passes was such a slog for McKinney Boyd. And I said, if they can get that passing game up around 55 to 60%, then I think they've got a chance to be one of the better teams in this district. And like I said, they're going to get tested big these next couple of weeks. Yeah. Marcus and Louisville are two great barometers for where you're at heading into 9-6A. As far as predictions go, gentlemen, where are we leaning on this one? Taylor, you've been a little
I'll jump in. I've been silent.
Taylor's on the podcast too.
Yeah, I'm here also. I kind of fall in line with you. As far as I'm not completely ready to buy in on Boyd. I think that obviously I've talked about this on the podcast before. If you go out week one and take care of kind of your patty cake game, you can't get knocked for that. Like, that's not a detriment to you. But at the same time, I need to see it against somebody that is more, I guess, on your tier. And Marcus will certainly provide that. You and I are both pretty high on Marcus. I think that they have a lot of talent, and I think that as the weeks go on, both teams are going to kind of come back to the middle a little bit. I think Boyd had, an outstanding offensive performance against the Naaman Forest team that, not super competitive.
You can only read so much into it.
Not super competitive. And Marcus, as lackluster, quote unquote, I mean, they could still run the football, but, up to their expectations and kind of the expectations that they have this season, not where they want to be certainly, but, Bowie's a much better program than Naaman Forest. So,
sure.
Marcus is, I think, on the way up from playing a good, competitive Bowie team and ironing some things out. And Boyd, I don't want to say is on the way down, but you got to play somebody, that matters and somebody that really will test you. So, like you said, if Boyd comes out this week and beats Marcus by 2 scores and handles that Marcus offense, I'm ready. Yep. I'm ready to jump on the Bronco train. But for right now, I'm taking Marcus because I think that they're a little bit more stable. I think that they'll figure some stuff out heading into week 2. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Boyd comes away with a win.
Friday will be a question and answer session. We're going to find out what's legit, what's a farce, what's a mirage, and what is real.
There's a lot of games on the schedule this week that are that same exact pretense.
There's a lot of prove-its this week for sure.
Kendrick, where are you leaning on this one?
I got Boyd 24-17. I believe in that defense. Like I said, they went from they needed help at linebacker. They got one in Brock. They needed help in secondary. They got 2 D1ers, and they need help just a playmaker. And they get like sophomore Fex is like one of the top 3 or 4 sophomore rated linebackers in the nation. So that's an upgraded talent. That's an upgraded athleticism where you were needed it most on the defensive side of the ball. So I think all that's going to make a big difference. Well, it's like people ain't got the memo yet because they thought it was a mirage. I got the memo. Coach Fex and company, I got the memo. I think they're pretty legit.
Yeah, I'm the same way with you, Taylor. I'm an evidence guy.
I got the memo.
Hey, I convinced you that they were going to be a playoff team in 9-6-8. You did not have them in the playoffs initially.
I had to see.
I talked you into it. Exactly. I'm an evidence guy. I need to see, like you, Taylor. I need to see what it looks like against against a team that is a bit more on their level. And like I said, you can only go so far into buying into what you do against a Naaman Forest team that won just 4 games last season.
With 6 turnovers.
Yeah,
we were talking about that earlier. How
6 turnovers committed, 16 penalties. There's not a single team that has ever played a football game that commits 6 turnovers and 16 penalties that has won a game.
At any level.
Yeah. So I just need to see, again, this is going to be very much a prove-it performance for Boyd, and if they do so, then like I said, I'm all in. But I need to see it first, and I'll take the L on the picket line if that means needing to be proven wrong. So
it's tight though, for sure. I mean, I like 24-17 either way, maybe 31-24, something like that. But I mean, it's going to be a lot tighter, I think, than looking at the schedule prior to week 1 than maybe some of us envisioned this game would be. So it should be a good one. Worthy game of the week, for sure. And
the picket line itself was very, very neck and neck on this one as well. It was a 3-2 margin in favor of Marcus. Taylor, myself, and Devin Hassan going with the Marauders. Kendrick, you and Brian Murphy picking Boyd, and should be a fun one. Friday, 7 o'clock at McKinney ISD Stadium. Our game of the week, Marcus at McKinney Boyd. You were at Boyd earlier yesterday, I guess, for that matter, to talk with Jake Fex.
Gives the insight of what the team's mindset is heading in this week, and coming off that high, that was the 45-7 win over Naaman.
Yep, Jake Fex, a 2-way stud for the Boyd Broncos, and we will see what he had to say about his big debut and plus the big game coming up this week after a word from the sponsor. Today's podcast is brought to you by Star Local Media. 14 newspapers and websites with a print distribution of 270,000 homes and monthly page views of 600,000 online. Star Local Media, your community voice for news. And now, let's get back to the podcast.
Ken Johnson with Jake Fex, senior defensive back and wide receiver for the McKinney Boyd Broncos. How does it feel to put on that jersey for the first time and put on the performance that you did and kind of introduce yourself to the Red Nation?
It was fun, just coming out, having a big game, but we just got to forget about that. We got to work on this next week, what's coming up.
How big a deal is that y'all defense showed up and showed out and kind of made a statement that y'all better than what they've been the last couple of years?
It was huge just for the kids to gain that confidence. Going into next week, we got a huge game against Flower Marcus, but I think that game really helped boost confidence.
So what's 2 or 3 things y'all going to have to do differently against Marcus that you didn't do against Damon?
We're going to have to tackle better. We're going to have to keep getting those turnovers. Those are huge, especially if it's a close game, and just be more disciplined all around.
Where's your confidence level at after playing such an all-around game last week?
We never get too high or never get too low, so we're steady-headed, cool-headed, and we're ready.
I know you're new to Boyd and everything. There's a trip you had that people were surprised that y'all won as easily as y'all did. Y'all kind of like one of the surprise teams coming out week 1 everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I think some people were surprised. I mean, I heard that maybe our season's not going to be very good from people in the school, but I think just as a football team, we can do a lot of good things.
I know it was your first time to play at MIC Stadium. Give the people insight of the playing on that stadium, playing that stage, with that being one of the most premier stadiums in the state.
Oh yeah, that stadium's beautiful. I've never played in a stadium like it. I enjoyed it a lot.
How'd that energy feel? Because see, like you got that pick 6, you were like running with that energy.
Oh yeah, the student section, all the students, the fans are amazing. I'm grateful for them, and they really help us out a lot. What's
your defense mentality? I know you have a young offense. I know other than Tyler, everybody's pretty basically new, other than Tyler and Kareem. What's your mentality? Do y'all kind of let them know, hey, we're gonna keep y'all in it? Y'all just gonna make a play or two, and y'all can get us over this hump while they kind of find their footing? Is that y'all mentality?
Yeah, right. We just go in there and do our job. That's our mentality. We want to be as disciplined as it is possible. We just want to do our job.
And when they start converting y'all turnovers into points, how much of that, somebody, because it seemed like when y'all went on that run in the second quarter, it's like y'all were getting the turnovers and they would turn into points. It's kind of fed off, and then y'all blew up and scored 24 in the quarter.
I mean, our defense definitely feeds off our offense, and our offense definitely feeds off of our defense. We just got to all around keep it good energy and get ready for this next game.
Do you think that the fact that y'all everything's new, like you got new players, new coaches, you think that's going to surprise some people that y'all is disciplined and as good as y'all are?
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely going to surprise people. Just a short amount of time Coach McBride's been here and all these coaches, and it's all of it's new, but everyone's coming together really good.
Give some insight to the effort, because even on plays, I saw people from the backside running full tail to the big. How much does effort and energy are part of y'all defense, and the problems are y'all going to pose to future offenses?
I mean, Coach McBride, he's always talking about effort. We just got to keep up our effort, and when you play fanatical effort, it scares the offense. It scares them.
And what's 2 or 3 things that you want to accomplish this week besides getting that win against Flower Mound?
First and foremost, I just want to, as a captain, bring our team together more so we can have a better game than we did last week. Probably tackle better and look forward to making more plays on offense.
Where's your confidence level at? Where's your confidence level at? You got an undercover swag.
Yeah, I mean, I keep it cool, but my confidence is always 100.
What about your brother?
Oh yeah, he's the same way. He's a little bit more quiet than me, but he's always ready to go.
Give some people insight to him, because a lot of people are new to him in McKinney and don't realize he's one of the top linebackers in, I think, 2022 class.
Yeah, he is. He's top linebacker in the 2022 class.
And people don't even know that. Give some insight to how good he is. Like, first off, that's like I see the rankings and stuff, but I got to see you play. That dude like a miniature Sean Lee and Wolf Hunter combined.
Yeah, he's a big physical. He can run pretty well, and as you saw, he's got hands too. He can catch the ball.
And do y'all think y'all breaks the role of the underdog with people? Boy, it's not for real. Did that fuel y'all? Y'all just tune that out, or does that really fuel y'all?
That definitely fuels us. That definitely fuels our fire, being called the underdog. When we know what we can do, and we love it. We love it.
If our question, what you got a message for Red Nation? All the support they showed up and showed out for y'all last week, and I'm pretty sure everybody's all fired up. That's why y'all the game of the week this week.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you and just keep doing what you're doing. You're pushing us a lot. We're proud to have y'all as our student section.
Big thanks to Jake Fex for taking the time to chat with Kendrick for our Student Athlete Spotlight, helping preview our game of the week, voted on by y'all, Marcus and McKinney Boyd. We had 4 more games that were up for consideration. We're going to quick hit those, give some predictions as well, including a game that I will be at on Thursday that is, well, getting all sorts of attention around the state, and far more than we would have expected, I guess, a month or 2 ago. Plano Senior versus El Paso Eastwood, Thursday, 7 o'clock, out at the Ford Center at the Star. The circumstances have changed quite a bit from this time last year when Plano and Eastwood were getting ready to play for the very first time. That game was goofy, very, very weird game, but obviously the football game itself is kind of taking a bit of a back seat tomorrow night, just with these two schools being kind of interwoven by the unfortunate tragedy of a little over 1 month ago, the mass shooting out in El Paso that was allegedly committed by a Plano Senior alum at a Walmart that was just a few miles away from the Eastwood campus. And then obviously the story that made all sorts of headlines statewide, even it was a national story even to that extent, with 2 weeks later when Plano ISD, citing unspecified safety reasons and just the timing of the matchup in general, canceled the matchup against between Plano and Eastwood. Lots of backlash ensued on social media. I mean, Plano was just getting hammered for a good 24 hours, and then they announced that they have reinstated the game and then moved it to the Star out at Frisco. Just it fit the an indoor venue, fit the safety, not the safety, but the security concerns that that Plano ISD had raised. And nevertheless, yes, Plano and Eastwood. They get together in a game that is like I said, the footballs can almost kind of be secondary in this one. A lot of talk about just what was going to happen this week and how Plano was going to, kind of welcome Eastwood and kind of help them work through, what has been a very trying time for them. And not just, and that's not even to mention, I guess, the news that came down yesterday, where a former Eastwood football player, one of their stud receivers on last year's team that played against Plano, Eddie Cruz, he passed away on Monday or Tuesday. So yeah, some very, very heavy hearts with the Eastwood folks.
You're out there in El Paso.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. So you're talking with some of the players yesterday, and there is question of just how just with all that's led up to this game, how because at the end of the day you still have to play a football game, and how they're going to kind of just suppress all that and just focus on the game itself. And J.D. McCullough mentioned that there's legit concern as to how his players are going to handle that spotlight, not just playing in a venue like the Star, but this game is going to be broadcast. It's going to be televised live on WFAA and streamed all over the state. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this game. And as far as what that means strictly in terms of picking a winner or a loser, last year's game was goofy. I've mentioned it time and time again on this podcast over the years. It was the game Plano won 72-48, but it was a game in which Plano was outsnapped 105-23. And just because Plano just kept on scoring so frequently that eventually the defense got worn down, and Eastwood managed to get its way back in there. They recovered like 3 or 4 onside kicks. There were it was just a crazy game. So both teams are looking to bounce back from really rough showings in week 1. Plano got absolutely hammered by Hebron, 53-26 in a game that was a 1.46-0. Eastwood got shut out by El Paso America's 63-0.
Yeah. I'm starting to lean towards PIC being shut in the playoffs, but I don't see a PIC team losing to somebody that's been shut out anywhere in the state. So that's my main reason for going with Plano. And like you said, they did all that. They have stopped them by 80 snaps, and they still got beat by 24. Just get them that much better over the year. So keep it from a football perspective. I'm leaning towards the Wildcats.
Yeah, same here. Just again, have to go with I feel like Plano Senior's path was a little bit more consistent based off what we saw last year. And
they got the speed factor, evidently. They had 23 plays and 77 points.
Oh yeah, that was, again, it was Kyron Cumbie, it was Tylen Hines, Cody Craig. Everybody it was a parade in the end zone. The offense scored 60 of those 72 points, again, in just 25 snaps. I side with Plano in this one. How about you, Taylor?
It almost feels silly to have to pick a winner, kind of like you mentioned in this football game. There's a lot more going on, but yeah, just considering both with bad losses in week one, but Plano too, a Hebron team that we're all pretty convinced is a threat to go deep into the postseason. I think the talent at Plano, the competition, kind of just the program in general has a leg up on the Eastwood program. But yeah, I'll go with Plano. But like I said, it doesn't feel like it's about that, even 1% at this point.
Yeah. It's going to be more so about just helping, Eastwood and the El Paso community through this healing process. And I don't know what y'all's reactions were when this news came down, but I'm just glad this game is being played, and that it sounds like everyone at the school, talking with the players and stuff yesterday. Just everyone at the school and with the football program wanted this game to happen.
Well, even I think the other two Plano booster clubs have been contributing for, gift bags or something. I saw on Twitter. We've beat it into the ground at this point. It's about so much more than football, and I think it would have been a shame to, deny these kids, some form of coming together and collective grieving and kind of moving on through something like that. I think it would have been a silly thing to do. So yeah, me too.
The picket line was unanimous in picking Plano to beat Eastwood in one of our other Game of the Week selections. Let's see, you mentioned Hebron just a few moments ago, Taylor. They got a pretty big one themselves.
It's another game that we talked about McKinney Boyd and Marcus. It was a game that we thought would probably be a good one, but another one that got a lot more interesting, after last week. I don't think any of us expected Arlington Martin to go down to Lake Travis and just absolutely handle them 35-14. Their quarterback, Zach Mundell, is just, lights out, on both aspects, I guess. And yeah, man, this one got competitive in a hurry. I still, as far as kind of, I guess my official outlook and prediction, I think Hebron is just kind of this well-oiled machine, this juggernaut. I think the win over Plano, I don't know how much it proved that, because we've talked a lot about, beating teams that are kind of in your tier, and to be honest, I don't think Plano's in Hebron's tier or anywhere close, this season. But still, there's something to be said about just how much of an absolute beatdown that was, and Hebron looks like the real deal. I don't see any glaring weaknesses. So good game. I expect Martin to give him a heck of a game, but I'm gonna go with Hebron. We'll see though.
I think Martin will be find a way to get it done. For some fact, they'll be playing the friendly confines of UTA Stadium. Yeah. They're traditionally a good home team, and if you're going down to Austin, doing that to Lake Travis, you got to be somewhat legit.
Oh yeah.
It was that easy. Everybody will be doing it, and that happens.
This isn't going to be a repeat of last
This ain't your regular Arlington Martin team. I think this team has some special in it. So I think he will make it competitive. I'm not going to say they're going to get blown out. They'll make a good counter for themselves, but they'll take that cold L at the end of the day.
Yeah. One thing about Hebron against Plano is that they barely broke a sweat in that game. Yeah. They really did.
They didn't even ask to do it. Yeah.
No, seriously. No player on Hebron's offense accounted for 100 yards of offense, and they still were up 46-0. Late in the second quarter. Isaiah Broadway, I guess he had 99 rushing yards and whatnot. But nevertheless, it was everybody just, it was basically, it sounds like, Plano couldn't move the ball at all, and Hebron was afforded short field after short field after short field that they scored on just about every time.
You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown.
It really did feel that way. I don't know. That was a fairly eye-opening performance. We thought Hebron would win, but I don't think any of us foresaw that sort of a blowout.
It's called a woodshed for a reason.
Yeah, they very aptly named. Let's see. This one was in favor of Hebron 3-2. Myself, Devin Hassan, Taylor Raglin picking the Hawks. Kendrick, you and Brian.
You and Brian, man.
You and Brian. Soulmates on this picket line. You guys going with the Martin Warriors.
It's another one that I don't want to say really, it's a coin flip.
It is a coin flip. Let's see. Otherwise, this game, at the 5A level, a doozy out of the Colony, between the Colony and Frisco Reedy. This was a very high-profile showdown at this time last year. Kind of the first statement win by Reedy to kind of let them know that they had taken that next step in their trajectory and they were ready for a big year. And boy, did they have a big year! 13 wins, 4 rounds deep in the playoffs. Another one of those games, though, that we have two teams where we're not entirely sure what to make of what happened in week one. Reedy needed a very, very stellar second half to avoid what would have been one of the more shocking results in week one had it panned out, because they were playing from at a 7-3 deficit at the half to Plano West. the same Plano West that has gone 2.5 years without picking up a victory.
I know we're talking about high school, but it's kind of like upset alert. If we could have had a Texas high school alert, everybody's phone would have went on upset alert with that thing, because people in the press box in my game were talking about that. I'm pretty sure it's your game.
Oh yeah, they needed to bust out the AED to bring me back to life after after seeing that Plano West was leading at halftime. I wouldn't have ever fathomed that would ever be in the cards. But that's the thing. That's the thing about like what you don't really know what to make heads or tails out of these Week 1 results, because I don't know. Like, we'll learn a lot more about Frisco Reedy now. They're playing a team that is, at least on paper, a bit more on their level. Because I mean, the Colony is going to challenge them in ways that Plano West cannot. Yeah. With all of these.
Miles Price is legit. I gotta check him out. He's a special kid.
Oh yeah, quarterback Mikey Harrington, running back, wide receiver, defensive back, return. Miles Price is everything for that team. Keith Miller, their stud wide receiver. Christian Gonzalez, a D1 star in the secondary. Marcus Moore, their stud defensive lineman. This is the most talented team that the Colony has ever had,
and they're really good. Another good home team, but they're really good at playing teams, like seeing somebody beat them and not letting that happen. Mm-hmm. They very definitely a team that fits that theory. It's hard to be a team twice in a year, so I think with them not losing last year, they're going to be extra motivated to kind of like send a message. I
think the thing that stands out to me is, all those names you rattled off have been there. Mm-hmm. All those names you rattled off have played together. They have experience. If you play this game in Week 8 or Week 9, maybe it goes a different direction, because I do think that Frisco Reedy is going to be fine. We're probably all a bunch of, knee-jerkers over here. And oh, my goodness, they beat Plano West by 10. Frisco Reedy's, it's not the same program. They're more than likely they'll be fine. Jalen Kidna, I'm sure, will settle in. Mm-hmm. They got athletes. Will Harbor's a beast. Everything's going to be, I would assume, okay, come the end of the season and the postseason. But at the same time, the Colony's got it going on right now. The Colony's got its group back. They're feeling good. I think that, there is something to kind of the revenge narrative, especially this early, and kind of smelling blood in the water after Week 1, with Reedy. So another really close game. Reedy could put it all together and be Reedy again, mm-hmm. or the Colony could beat them by 20. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but just kind of the experience and kind of the nature of Reedy being really up in the air right now, I went with the Cougars. It does kind of get lost in the shuffle just how many names Reedy is replacing from last year's team. I believe they had the fewest returning starters of any team in District 7-5A Division 2, and like with a program that we forget like how young that program still is in the grand scheme of things, and like you have this great senior class that leads you to your first benchmark season, and now the question is, okay, but is do it again? Can you withstand the graduation of a heavy talented senior class, reload again? It's just a little bit tougher for those 5A schools to do, so it's still undetermined, especially when it hasn't happened before. Like you mentioned, I mean, the program's so young, this is the first time. It's not an Allen where it happens every single year. This is the first time. And with that kind of in the same line as y'all, just the experience advantage for the Colony was what I guess gave them the leg up in my view for this matchup. And it was, would not have forecasted at the start of the year that it would be a consensus sweep where we think that the Colony is going to beat Frisco Reedy, but we'll probably all take it. That's the reality that we live in. It could be just one grandiose overreaction to Week 1, and we'll see. They'll play it out on Friday out at Tommy Briggs Stadium out in the Colony at 7 o'clock. And let's see, our last game. This one, a couple teams that had some very, very convincing performances last week. Highland Park visiting Mesquite Horn, Friday, 7:30 p.m. out at Hanby Stadium. We talked about the Boyd getting off to a hot start to begin the Joe McBride era. How about the way McKinney Horn, but how about the way Horn rang in the Chris Hudler era with a 39-17 blowout of John Tyler? They're going to be better. They had a lot of injuries last year that people overlooked, but I'm picking HP for 2 reasons. I don't bet against them. 3-time defending state champs. Well, and it seems like they find a way to get a win. It seems like they never lose to a Mesquite team. I don't know what the actual number we settled on was. I know Devin went back and did the 50 years, but it's been I looked it up. Very few and far between. I did. Devin had a story, so I just read his story. Highland Park has an all-time record of 67-12-2, all-time against Mesquite ISD, and 7 of those 12 losses came to North Mesquite. So you see
They have had, they have had Mesquite ISD's number for quite some time, and yeah, I think that continues. I mean, Highland Park coming off one of the just crazier games of last week. It was Highland Park and Rockwall and Geyer Alito were just like something out of a video game.
But Highland Park, they always win those games.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's important too. Is that I think a lot of people were really high on Rockwall. Do you think Mesquite Horn in the end is better than Rockwall? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think so. And Highland Park, like you said, found a way to win. That's a really, really good program over at Rockwall that's supposed to make a lot of noise, this season in Highland Park. Found a way, like it always does.
Highland Park thing.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the stat line for Highland Park quarterback Chandler Morris, which... Good Lord. 474 passing yards, 180 rushing yards, and 9 touchdowns. That is...
Good luck.
You can't do that in a video game. So yes, that should be expect the points to come in droves Friday at Hanby between Highland Park and Horn. That one was also a sweep in favor of the Scots, as we are all unanimous in picking them to defeat the Horn Jaguars. And let's see, and that'll wrap up this edition of the Star Local Media High School Sports Podcast. Thank you to Jake Fex for taking the time to chat with Kendrick. Thank you to everybody for voting. There was a ton of turnout on the poll this week.
Big week.
Should be a fun. Before we get out of here, let's talk quickly about what we have on our coverage docket. Kendrick, what are you going to be covering this week?
I'll be at McKinney and Irvin MacArthur on Thursday, and at the game of the week, Boyd and Flower Market see what the question marks be answered on Friday nights. See if some more memos be sent out.
Taylor, how about you?
I will be doing the same dance at the Cotton Bowl Prep Showcase I did last year. 5 p.m. out at the Cotton Bowl Friday for Saxe Trinity, and 8:30 p.m. Thanks a lot for that one.
Gonna be busy.
Cotton Bowl for East and Lake Highlands, which may be more competitive. Trey Jones Scott probably not going to play this week, so we'll see. We'll see as far as that one goes. Might be a little closer than we may have predicted.
My coverage week includes I'll be swinging by the Star on Thursday to cover Plano Senior versus Eastwood and all that will encompass that game. And then Friday I'll be out at Allen as Allen welcomes another state-ranked foe. This one from well south is Dickinson. A first-time meeting between Allen and Dickinson should be a fun little test for the Eagles after their big victory last week over Cedar Hill. We will be obviously, you can follow us all along on Twitter. You can check out our stories on our website at starlocalmedia.com as well as our post-game rapid reaction podcasts. Otherwise, folks, that's been it for this episode. We'll be back on Monday to break down some of the good time happenings in week 2. See how many questions were answered, because like I said, lots of prove-it games on the docket this week. Folks, you enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to you all later.